This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Welcome, everybody. Where's PK? Hello? Not here. I'd like to thank him for the sponsor. And I met someone. I was in Washington for Chalamayit, and I met someone in the hotel, and they were like, "Oh, we watch you online. But how do I sponsor?" He really wants to sponsor. Don't I give out the email address every time? No? Rabbi Rosenfeld 007 at gmail.com. Rabbi Rosenfeld 007 at gmail.com. The guys are insisting on better food in this place. So please email me right away. And for those guys that do, the rewards are absolutely huge. Okay, Moshe, we're starting right now. You can get some sushi over there. And here, Aaron, if you want to just share it, you could show me how to do that so we can get people that want to watch me on. It should be over there. I'll share. Okay, this week's Parsha Shemini. And every year, even though there are a lot of things to talk about this week's Parsha, I have to talk about the number one thing that most people in this class struggle with. And even though we speak about it all the time, I don't think there's always more. And that is, you ready for this? Kosher food. How many guys, no one's watching you guys, how many guys in this class have been eating kosher food since they were born? Since they were born? 2. That's it. Not bad. Since they were born. A lot of guys took it on later on, which is incredible, because we all know how difficult it is to eat kosher. Especially grew up in a secular country. So I give you guys a lot of credit. But for those guys that are still struggling, we will talk about that right now. One more thing that's bothering me. Some guy said, "Why is something bothering you, Rabbi? It looks like something bothered you. You don't have the energy." Well, now that you asked. Now, one of my students that I'm dealing with, he's about to get engaged. And unfortunately, she's not Jewish. Oh. Good guy. Really a good guy. Not Jewish. And it's going back and forth, so we'll see what's going to happen. So please, I can't say his name. Please daven that a man out there that might be engaged to a non-Jew, please daven that she dumps him very soon. Anyways, when you speak to a guy like that that's dating, I mean, and the guy is in love and he wants to get married, there's really nothing to say. You try to talk to him about it, but then you try to ask why don't you know you're Jewish, and don't you know what it's all about? And he says something very interesting. And the truth is, I couldn't answer him about his parents wanted to marry Jewish. They told it's important, right? But his parents don't keep anything except Yom Kippur. They keep Yom Kippur. They like to go to Shul Yom Kippur. That's their thing. Maybe Rosh Hashanah too. But that's their whole religion. So in that case, and he explained this to me, I think he's 100% right. In that case, so what does that mean being Jewish to him if he doesn't keep anything? So what does that mean, I'm Jewish? I don't keep anything. I don't put on tefillin. I don't keep Shabbat. I don't keep kosher. So I'm just, my background, like there's an Italian background, there's a Puerto Rican background, there's a Jewish background. And then look at Rabbi Rosenfeld. So how does he look at me? When he sees a guy like me that's keeping kosher, keeping Shabbos, putting on tefillin, and he asks his parents, well, if that is what's supposed to be, then why aren't we doing it? I mean, you can't make up your mind. Is Rabbi Rosenfeld, is Rabbi Katzin, is Rabbi Blaustein normal? We're not normal? So how do you perceive those rabbis? And basically the message he gets across is, they're Jews just making a mistake. They're just living a mistake. In other words, they have this belief that this happened. They think they're right, but their whole life is a mistake. They actually believe God gave the Torah to the Jews. They believe in this thing called an Olam Haba. They believe there's reward for Shabbos. And so if he looks at religious Jews, because if you're a parent raising your kid secular, how do you explain it? You see tens of thousands of people in Flatbush and Borough Park walking around with beards and hats, going to shul, and you're not. So you ask your parents, what's the deal? Are we Jew? Oh, we're Jewish. Oh, we are? Yeah. So why aren't we going to shul? Why aren't we keeping Shabbos? Oh, then you have to explain it to them. No parent will ever say to a kid, "Oh, we're just totally wrong. We're just hypocrites. We're living wrong." We're crazy. Parent will never say that. So what are they going to say? "Oh, those Jews, they're Jews, but they're just living, with a little mistake. We're all Jews, but they're just, happen to have this background which they would brainwash." Okay. So then me, I'm just Jewish, just like any other person. Yeah. So I don't have to keep anything. I don't have to go to a kosher restaurant. I can go to Baku when I could order the ribs, right? Yeah, of course, Baku. Yeah, no problem. We go all the time to Baku. Oh, good. So basically, I want to start dating an Italian. No, you can't do that. Why not? Why can't I date an Italian? What is the reason? What is a parent supposed to answer at a normal parental level? I want to date a Puerto Rican girl. What is the reason why I can't? They'll say, well, they're not Jewish. Yeah. So can you imagine someone saying that? Can you imagine an Irish girl going out with a Puerto Rican or an Italian? And the parents say, oh, they're not Irish. That's racist. That's prejudice. I can only date Irishmen? That's so prejudice. Right? Think about that. I can only date black. I can only date white. You tell your kid you can only date a certain type of... That's ridiculous. I'm going to eliminate most of society. You see, if you ask a religious Jew, why can't I date a non-Jew? Well, very simple. Because God said so. And we're a chosen people. And believe it or not, we are a light unto the nations. And don't tell us the rest of the world, we are above the nations, as we'll see in this week's Parsha. So therefore, you can't marry someone else because they're not in your category. Really? A Jew is Yeah. I mean, anybody could be Jewish, don't get me wrong. We don't discriminate. Anybody can become a Jew and accept Torah mitzvahs, but if they don't want, you can't. But what do you tell a person that doesn't keep anything? Don't marry an Italian because but we don't do anything. We're just a Jewish background. Jewish background means nothing. It's like any other background. And what am I supposed to say to that kid, if that's the way he's trained? If anybody has some good advice that can save a guy before he falls off the face of the earth and before all his children become non-Jewish, I am willing to listen. We've been through this many times before. As we know, there's a 70% assimilation rate, which is why Sinai opened up, which is why Rage opened up, and other schools, and that's why I teach in both. Because you never know who you can save on a daily basis from making that decision. So, please daven for the guy that might be getting engaged. Hashem knows who you're talking about. Okay, so I want to read from the bottom of the Parsha Shemini. I'm going to help you out because I did it in English. Bottom left. Here we go. Look at the bottom left. At the end of this chapter, the Torah stresses the reason for kashrut in very clear and powerful terms. By observing these laws, the Jew can pull himself up the ladder of holiness. By ignoring them, he not only contaminates himself, he gradually builds a barrier that blocks out his comprehension of holiness. Just as someone who is constantly exposed to loud music, right? You ever go to a wedding? Now, by weddings, they are giving out earplugs. Right? You notice that? People are complaining. They're coming home with buzz in their ear. And the next day they wake up with hearing loss. So therefore, they're not giving out. But most people don't wear it. Most people don't wear it. They ignore it. Oh, what's going to affect me? Do you know who the only people wearing earplugs at a wedding are?
The band.
The band. So obviously they know something. Now you're looking at them like, one second, they're into music. They do this for a living, and they're putting in earplugs. It could be that it might be actually important. Maybe I should use it, but some people, I actually did it when I was at a wedding a few months ago. I actually walked out with earplugs, and people looked at me and said, oh, Rabbi, what are you, 80 years old? You're walking around with earplugs? Come on. But the truth is, if you go to a wedding all the time, or you listen to headphones, Beats headphones, and you blast it, gradually you will not realize. It might take 20, 30 years. Unbeknownst to you, your hearing is slowly going to go. And when you're 50 years old, you're going to be like, say to your wife, what? She's like, take out the garbage. What? She thinks you're ignoring her. Hearing loss actually might be good for shalom bias. You don't hear half the things your spouse says to you, you don't hear, and like, hey, you know what? It's probably a good thing. Right. You don't have to hear. Then you don't retaliate. It's probably a good thing. But aside from that, a person that constantly listens to Talmud will slowly disappear. And that's exactly what happens, the Torah is telling you over here, with non-kosher food. Look at the top, continue on the next side. So too, the Torah informs a Jew's consumption of non-kosher food deadens his spiritual capacities and denies him the full opportunity to become holy. And worst of all, it renders him incapable of even perceiving his loss. For this reason, the Ramah cautions that even small children should be prevented from eating forbidden foods lest their spiritual potential be harmed. Little kids, by the way, you don't have to hold them back from doing sins. Like on Shabbos, if you see them playing with the remote, oh my gosh, my 1-year-old playing with the remote. Play with the remote. Okay, what are you going to do? He's 1-year-old, he's not responsible. But when it comes to non-kosher food, nobody will serve their kid non-kosher food. Or if they see them taking it on their own, they'll grab it away. Why? He's not responsible. Yeah, but what it does to his head, it's like putting. I was at an engagement party. Do you know they sell now headphones for babies? They sell headphones for babies at weddings. Huge. It's the cutest thing. They're noise reduction headphones. You put them on the baby, so when you're at a loud place, that it won't affect the kid's ear. Like, come on, the kid's 6 months old. Take a kid to a wedding, it affects the kid's eardrum. So now they have these little babies that are walking around with these cute little headphones that prevent them from getting hearing loss. And the same thing with kosher food. A parent will not allow the kid because, unbeknownst to the kid, it deadens his ability to ingest spirituality. A lot of people come to us and say, Rabbi, I'm not feeling it. I'm learning Torah. I'm not feeling it. I'm trying to become more Jewish. I'm not feeling it. Right? Well, what are you eating? You see, out of all the mitzvahs, the rabbis say this is the number one to be. What do you mean number one? Murder, idolatry, adultery. You have to give up your life for that. How could you say this is number one? It does mean number one as far as severity, as far as punishment is concerned. It means number one as far as recouping from it. Because it's the only mitzvah that the intake spreads to all over your body. And therefore, when a person starts learning, he says, Rabbi, I'm trying to keep Shabbos, I have no interest. I'm trying to learn, I have no interest. I'm trying to put on tefillin, I have no interest. What's going on? You always ask the guy, what did you eat for the last 2 weeks? The first question you ask the guy, what have you been eating the last 2 weeks? I don't know. I go out to eat, I go to a restaurant. Kosher, probably not kosher. Then what do you expect? It's very difficult. The Torah is telling you right here. It is extremely difficult if you ever want to start connecting with God or growing as a Jew. If you're constantly, same thing, okay, physically we know the same thing. If you want to go and you want to start running a marathon, and every day you're practicing, and for some reason it's not working, and you go to your nutritionist and say, what's going on? You see these basketball players, by the way, that play every night, and you think, wow, they're great ball players. You don't realize their diet. For those 6 months when they're playing, there's no such thing as fast food for these guys. For those 6 months, Tom Brady, the guy at 40 years old still has the body of a 25-year-old. He plans on playing for another 10 years, unfortunately for the Jets. He plans on playing. He's still embarrass us for 10 more years. Well, but Brady will tell you that he's still, every single day, every drop that goes into his mouth, every morsel of food is watched. Why? Because he wants to continue to play. It's at a physical level. The same thing works on a spiritual, absolutely. I can't even explain it. So look at what it says. Right in the beginning of the Parsha, it says, I'm sorry, not at the beginning, when it talks about kosher food. It says in Perek Shishi, if you want to look inside, on page 597. If you want, you could go behind the camera. No one can see. Behind the camera, right there. 597. 597, Hashem spoke to Aaron and Moshe saying, say to the children of Israel, these are the creatures that you may eat among the animals. Zos hachaya. What is a chaya in English? What's a chaya?
Wild beast.
A beast. What's a behemoth?
Domestic.
Right? They're both animals. One's wild, one's domestic. And in the pasuk it says, these are the chayas from all the behemoths. These are the animals from all the animals that you may eat. Rashi jumps on that. Like, why use two different words for animals? It says these are the animals from all the animals that you may eat. But it uses the word chaya And it uses the words behema. Why? Rashi wants to know, is it using two separate words for the same word, animal? They both mean animal. Rashi says, well, chaya also has another meaning. When you lift up your glass and you drink together, what do you say? L'chaim. What's l'chaim mean? To life. Rashi says, life? What is the Torah teaching about life? It's telling you, Rashi says, lashon chayim. This is a lashon of life. Why is the Torah using the word animal in a word of life? Rashi says, because the Jewish people are connected to God. We have a special relationship with Him, and therefore we are fit to live forever. Therefore, Hashem had to separate us things that will prevent us from living forever. And He had to separate us from things that will prevent us from connecting with God. Remember, at Sinai, we are counting out to the Omer, 39 days left, and we received the Torah. At Sinai, we became God's children. And we connected to Him. And forever we will always be connected, unless we break that connection. The one thing you do not want to do is get rid of God out of your life. You do not want to lose that protection. And Hashem says, in that case, you are going to have a special spiritual diet. And God's saying, and Rashi's saying, Zosachaya. Rashi brings the famous parable, which we say every year. Two guys walk into a doctor's office, and they both have the same sickness. They both have the same sickness. The first guy goes in, Doc, what can you do for me? Checks him out. Don't worry about it. You can go home, eat what you want, drink what you want. You don't have to change your diet. Oh, good. Thank God. I love my burgers. Next guy comes in, go home, fruits and vegetables. That's it. Once in a while, maybe on Shabbos, just some gefilte fish and chal. What? That guy's able to eat meat and potatoes, and he's able to eat all the chicken and all the... What's going on? It's not fair. Same sickness. Doctor says, listen very closely, boys. Doctor says, because I looked at his charts, and unfortunately he only has a few months to live. He only has a few months to live. Let him enjoy life. But you, my friend, can live another 50 years. So therefore, if you take care of yourself, you'll continue living. God says to the Jewish people, guys, you're going to live. You're going to live. See, the problem is, I think this is the issue most guys are having. What do you mean, Rabbi, I'm going to live? My father-in-law just had surgery. Baruch Hashem, he's doing much better. And we went to visit him in the rehab/nursing home. And you walk around, it's very sad. Oh, he runs a nursing home. He knows what's going on. Let me tell you something. Sad situation. Over the Baruch Hashem, he's doing great. He left already. But the rest of the people, you see, the daily games that they play, or daily games. Remember that? At 4 o'clock, there's bingo. 5 o'clock, canasta. 6 o'clock, the news. What else do they have over there?
Bingo 2.0.
Bingo 2.0. Special bingo with special prizes. So here's a person, 90 years old, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. What do? You play bingo. And at 4 o'clock, you play a game of cards. And this is exactly what they're keeping them alive. You're keeping them alive, continue to play. So the nurse says to my father-in-law, you're going to go home on Thursday, you can enjoy life. You're going to enjoy life again. What does that mean? I'm going to go home and I can enjoy life again. What does that mean? Everybody translates that differently. I'm going to enjoy life. Some people say, now I could go back to the beach. I haven't been at the beach in a month. Now I can go back to the beach. Life is great. Now I can watch football all day Sunday. I couldn't watch it anywhere. Life is great. Now I can go back to the bars. Life is great. Now I can go visit my kids. Now I can go to shul. Now I can go learn Torah. What's life? And everybody has to ask themselves that question, because as you wake up every day, you say to yourself, I want to enjoy life. I really want to have a great life. Then you ask, what does that mean? And you're like, I don't know, I want to have a great life. What does that mean, great life? Like, what do you want to do? Sharansky, your guy. The Teller Sharansky, who's now a minister in Israel, right? He was thrown in jail. He was thrown into Siberia for many years. A lot of Jews weren't thrown into Siberia. Only some Jews were thrown into Siberia. Do you know what he was punished for? When he went to court, what did they say he did?
Actually, one of at least leave the country, right?
He wanted to move to Israel, and he was accused of learning Hebrew or studying Torah. Right? Most people, you tell them you don't have to learn. Yes! No class this week. That's a great life. Woohoo! I don't have to learn. Whew, day off. Bein hazmanim. No learning. Other people will say, it's not worth living. So he's willing to be put in Siberia. He's willing to risk his life to get life. He's willing to be thrown. It is worth it for me to be thrown in jail so I can live. Otherwise, if I'm not going to learn, I'm not going to go to Israel, what's my point of living? And other guys will say, okay, I won't learn. What kind of life you want to live? As I heard once from Naftali Reich, and I'm going to write this down in my book from now on. He writes, the way we define life is how we live life. I love that line. The way we define life is how we live life. How you define it. I'll give you the perfect example. It's unbelievable. This is unbelievable. First time. I'm saying this first time I heard. I should have said it by Yosef's brother. Yosef HaTzadik is now the king of Egypt. We're going back a couple of months. Don't worry about it. Bear with me. Yosef HaTzadik is now the king of Egypt. His brothers come to visit him. Unbeknownst to them, their brother is the king. Of course, we all know. It doesn't tell them. It doesn't inform them who he is. They're going back and forth, back and forth. We came for food. I don't believe you. You're spies. Bring your brother down. Our father doesn't want our father's going to die. He's going to die if Binyamin leaves. He's going to die if we don't come back. Back and forth. I don't care. Bring your father down. Back and forth. This conversation is going on for weeks. Andrew, you hear this? It's unbelievable. All of a sudden, after they go back and forth, he finally reveals himself. And he says, Ani Yosef. I am Yosef. And what's his next question? Come on, guys. What? Is my father still alive? And everybody jumps on that. Every guy that knows how to write anything on the Torah jumps on. Excuse me, you've been talking about your father for the last two parashas. For the last two parashas, the whole Miketz and Vayigash. Father, what's going with the father? Is the father alive? So some say, well, he was just giving them a rebuke, like, you don't care about that. You don't care about that, that's why you sold me. But he says, no, you don't understand. Yosef was actually learning this line. The way we define life is how we live life. The brothers thought the whole time that they were talking to who? Who did they think they were talking to? Pharaoh. Some Egyptian king. Some guy that drives a Rolls Royce with a harem with 1,000 women, like Achashverosh, that lives in a palace with gold crowns, right? Lots of nice horses. The typical grubbish king. That's what they thought they were talking to. So the guy's asking, this king's asking me, how's your dad? Oh, dad's great. How's your dad? He's good. He's having a good time. Whatever he's doing, He's living, he's watching TV, playing cards. How's he doing? I mean, what the king said, he's doing good. He's all right. Yeah, it's great. He's okay. But Yosef was not interested if his father's playing cards. They thought that's what he's doing. If Egyptian king asking about your dad, right? If Donald Trump asks you about how's your dad doing? Oh, fine, Baruch Hashem. He's all right. He goes to work every day. If Moshe Feinstein asks you how's your dad, he's not interested to know what he ate for lunch that day. He wants to know, where is he holding in life? Is he doing chesed? Is he doing kindness? Is he helping people? Is he learning Torah? That's what he wants to know. Depends who's asking. So when they thought it was Donald Trump, when they thought it was Pharaoh, how's your father? He's doing great. When they thought it was Pharaoh asking, so they said, oh, he's doing great. But then when Yosef revealed himself and said, I'm Yosef, and now they realize, oh my gosh, he's not Pharaoh, he's a tzaddik. There's a tzaddik talking to us. So now Yosef says, now that you know I'm not an Egyptian king, tell me really, how's dad really? Is he really alive? Not alive in the sense like, is he having a good time? Is he really like a spiritual person? And sure enough, he was right, because for 22 years, Yaakov lost that prophecy when he was in depression, so-called depression. When he lost Yosef, he actually went down, and he lost that communication with the Shekhinah. So Yosef was right. How's dad doing? And it came back to him when he found out. Yes, Aaron.
Why they think right away it's tzaddik? How did they know what how did he stand in his life?
Oh, very good. That's an excellent question. Rashi asked that question. Right. How did they know Yosef was tzaddik? Just because, right? Yosef right away called him over. They talked about the bris milah. Rashi brings it down. Very good question. Yes, that's a good point. Right away he brought them over, and he slowly consoled them, told them exactly what was going on. But that's true. They wanted to know about the bris and everything. It's true. You're 100% right. And then he wanted. Isn't that a beautiful thing, guys? In other words, they're talking about one guy's life. Meanwhile, it's totally about a different type of guy's life. Anyways, so when you leave this class, you have to ask yourself this question: what type of life am I living? So, by the way, I didn't mean to attack you guys in the beginning about who keeps kosher. You know, like, oh, some guy. I said only 2 guys raised their hand that they started, and now most guys do, which is incredible. But this also applies to religious Jews. Not only the secular Jews have to worry about, religious Jews have to worry about the same thing. Which means when a religious Jew goes into a store and the store says kosher, they're not allowed to walk in just because it says kosher. My son goes to Israel, I'll tell you about it all the time, because they're clueless. Because in Israel, all right, you were there, right? Everything's Hebrew. Everything's Hebrew. So when you first get to Israel, it'll say it says in Hebrew, like, we sell pig, pay yud gimel. Oh, must be kosher. Pig, Hebrew, pay yud gimel, right? Everything must be kosher. McDonald's, kosher, Burger King, right? Just because something says kosher does not mean it's kosher. First thing you have to do is you have to find out who says it's kosher. And if you don't find out, you are negligent. You can't just use the excuse, well, it says kosher. You got to look on the sign and say, who says it's kosher? If you are a serious Jew, if you think you're religious, and you don't ask, then you're not religious. You might make believe you're religious, but anything else, like I told you, football players, baseball players, every time they get caught for steroids, every time they get caught for PEDs, you know what they always say? They get caught for steroids. What's their excuse? Come on.
The doctor told me to.
Either it was the doctor. The doctor will deny it. What do you mean? The doctor always has lists of stuff. They'll say, I don't know. Well, I don't know what I took inside. I don't know. I can't be. I don't know. It's impossible. It's impossible this to happen. Everybody knows they're lying. Why? Because that's one thing every ball player knows: their food. Every ball player knows exactly what's going inside. They need to be in perfect shape. If they're going to be in shape for 6 months, they need to be in perfect shape. Every little ounce that goes into the body, they go to the nutritionist and the trainer and the doctor. If they're taking some PEDs, they know about it. And if they didn't know it, they're a fool and they deserve to be suspended 80 days. Are you crazy? You have a $20 million contract and you're just going to take something without looking inside? You're insane. A Jewish person has a lifetime contract with God. He's going to walk into the store because it says kosher. I'm not saying you have to sit and go on to the kitchen. You just got to ask. So you look inside, and it says the name. You text Rabbi Rosenfeld. Rabbi Rosenfeld, do you know this guy Rabbi Berkowitz? Yeah, sure I know him. He's very good. Okay, great. You did your job. But just because somebody says kosher, okay, check it out. Who's the mashgiach? Who comes around there every day? Ever since I had students working in stores, I am turned off from a lot of stores in this neighborhood. I mean, we know who Elio, right? Ever since some of my students work and they tell me what goes on, I got very turned off. Now I do even more checking. Because the sign says kosher. If you're really serious about your connection with God, it's not, again, I'll give you an example. I went to Florida 2 years ago with my family. We all flew down to Florida for Orlando. This year, I think 30-something thousand Jews flew to Orlando. What you do in Orlando is very simple. They have houses, and it's beautiful. You take all your food, you cook all your food here, you ship it over there, it's great. Right? But every house is non-kosher. So what do? You call ahead, and you have your kitchen koshered. Right? Call an organization, please kosher their kitchen. And they come with blowtorches, and if you know the Lord. Okay, and you come inside, and your stove is ready to go, and you're going to go, right? So some rabbi in Sinai asked me, he said, how are you going to? I said, don't worry about it. The kitchen's kosher. By who? I said, I called the organization. Which one? The one in Florida. Which guys went? He was like, give me the third. And I started realizing, oh my gosh, 1 second. You look at an organization, kosher. They could have sent 2, Puerto Ricans, sent down with a blowtorch, just torching everything they see, not knowing the halachas. Oh no, maybe it was 100% good. But how do I not speak to the 2 guys that did it? 2 guys did it. Which one? I want to speak to them. I want to know if they did exactly. And all of a sudden I started questioning. I started getting nervous the day before. Oh my gosh, we got to tell my wife, we got to call, we got to check out. But just because you call somebody, and I'm a religious guy, because it says they're going to do it. Are you there? In my house, when we did Pesach, we were there, every nook and cranny. My kids are cleaning every little crumb, and we're boiling hot water, and we're pouring it over the sink to make sure I knew exactly what was going on. But you go into a place you don't know, and you call yourself religious, it's very difficult. I'm not saying you can go to all these places, but if someone asks you, did you ask? You say no, I didn't ask. You got a major issue. All right, let's finish up. Some guys today don't understand why the Torah is so concerned. I'll give you an example. At the end of the Parsha, on page 606, it says, Zosh Taras HaBehema v'ha'of. These are the laws of the animals and the birds. Lahavdil, to separate. Lahavdil. Lahavdil means to separate, right? Bein hatameh uvein hatar. You have to know how to separate between something that's impure and pure. Not easy. And when you read that, you always ask the question, Rabbi, what is so difficult to separate between pure and impure? I know what a pig is. I know what a sheep is. Like, it's always so big. It's to a hair's breadth. You have to make sure you know. No? Problem is, you guys live in 2018. You're the most spoiled generation in the history of the world.
For sure.
You want to go and you want to get a good piece of chicken. You go into the pomegranate. You take out a packet of chicken. It says, "Oh, you okay? Oh, this guarantee. Stop." You're like, "Oh, I know those rabbis. Good, not a problem." And then you eat. What is so hard? Lahavdil. You know when it uses lahavdil, it says, when we say Kiddush, we say, Lahavdil ben kodesh lechol. Where's my watch? It says, Lahavdil ben kodesh lechol. To separate between holiness and weekday. Now that's not easy. Yes?
You just move back.
Oh, I'm sorry. To separate between holiness and weekday. That's not easy. How could you tell if it's Shabbos or weeknight? Can you feel the difference if it's 7:35 or 7:52? Besides what it says, do you really know? It's not easy to know the difference between a holy day. You ask the average guy in the street, does he feel the difference between Saturday and Sunday? He feels the same way. It takes a lot of brains, lahavdil, to separate between something so tenuous. It's like someone went to visit the Chafetz Chaim. He heard all about the Chafetz Chaim. The great Chafetz Chaim. He's going to get a blessing from the Chafetz Chaim. He was so excited. And he walked into this little shack in Rodden. And he's sitting in the waiting room next to this old man. The old man was sitting on a chair and he was sleeping. All of a sudden the old man opens his eyes and says, who are you waiting for? He says, I'm waiting for the Chafetz Chaim. He says, I'm the Chafetz Chaim. Oh. He's sitting in the presence of the great. He couldn't tell. It was an old man. It takes greatness sometimes to know the havdil. So what is so hard to separate? You have to understand. Before this generation, you know how my parents used to get chicken? You know my parents used to get fish? They used to go to the store, they used to buy fish, they used to leave it in the bathtub. That's like the store when Zadie was young. He used to buy fish, right? And he used to put it in the bathtub. Wait till Yontif till it's ready. Keep it in the bathtub, swimming around. 100 years ago, you wanted to buy chicken. How many people could afford a piece of meat, a piece of chicken? You bought a chicken. You took the chicken, you went to the butcher. Here, please, slaughter this chicken. And then he would slaughter it for you. You have to make sure it's on. So then you would have to go home and clean it. And you have to make sure it's slaughtered properly. It's unbelievable. Just to tell you, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but just to tell you, the Taz. If anybody learns Shulchan Aruch, if anybody wants to go one day and be a rabbi in here, you're going to have to learn the Taz. The Taz was a great rabbi, Rabbi David Halevi Siegel. He wrote a commentary on the Code of Jewish Law. You look on the right side of the Shulchan Aruch, you see a commentary, and it's authoritative, and everybody lives in the 1600s. It seems like rabbis, sometimes tzaddikim in those days, would want to humble themselves. They would send themselves into exile. Sometimes they want to humble themselves. They would leave their city and walk into an unknown place, sometimes get humiliated, but it would help them grow spiritually. No honor, no arrogance. And this is what he did. Rabbi Siegel left, and he went to this town. He went into a shul. He sat down on a bench like a poor man. People used to give him like charity, like a quarter. They didn't know who this guy was. Never, right? Knock him over, whatever. And he used to sit in the back. People ignored him. He didn't get any honor like he used to get. He didn't get any cover. And One day, one guy was learning, and he was asking him questions, and we were talking and learning, and they realized, wow, this guy in the back, he really knows his stuff. He happened to be one of the most brilliant minds of that generation. And the other guy walks in the shul, and they start asking him questions, and this guy knows his stuff. They had no idea he was Rabbi Siegel, the Turizav, the Taz. No idea. But meanwhile, his name was spreading around. The guy in the shul knows everything. They're asking him questions. Unbelievable. Everything they quote. So, people said, Rabbi, can you answer a question on kosher? Yeah, sure. They brought him the chicken. Can you check it out? Yeah, kosher. Brought him the chicken, kosher. Brought him a cow, kosher. Now, he knew everything. That's why he's today, 300 years later, you open the Code of Jewish Law, Shulchan Aruch, he's there. And we all follow him. The rabbi of the town realizes no one's coming to the rabbi anymore. No one's coming to him. And he was a very strict rabbi. Things were not kosher with him. And he's asking everybody, they used to come every day with all your food. How come no one's coming to me? Oh, we go to the guy in the back of the shul. That guy's a genius. I said, what? That guy in the back of the shul? You kidding me? He walks over to the guy. Excuse me, sir. What are you doing? He said, I don't know. They're asking you questions. They're asking you questions, and you're giving a psak halacha? You're giving an authoritative decision over mine? Do you know what you're doing? He says, I'm sorry. This is what I do. Well, stop it. Okay, they're coming over to me. Next day, people come over to him. The line is out the door. They're lining up to him. He says, did you just give another psak? You see, I'm sorry. He winds up, boom! He punches the Taz in the face. Imagine punching a Moshe Feinstein in the face, right? Knocks him down. Get out of my shul. Yeah, and you can't blame the rabbi. Can you imagine? You can't blame the rabbi. Guy comes in, making things kosher, making things non-kosher. Can't blame the rabbi. You got to get rid of these guys. So sure enough, he's sitting outside on a bench now. Now he's sitting on a bench, not in the shul. And in a way, he wanted this. This is good for his arrogance, when people step on him. This is good for him. He'll never be a big shot anymore. And people are ignoring him. And he's not getting involved anymore. And one day, the Taz sees an 8-year-old, 9-year-old girl walking with the chicken to the rabbi. And he's walking with the chicken to the rabbi and to get it checked. She leaves the house and the kid is crying. Kid's crying. And the Taz says to her, what happened? She's the girl crying. What happened? He says, all we have is one chicken for the Shabbos. We could afford one chicken for Shabbos. One. But there was a little problem. It looked like there was a bruise and we weren't sure. We went to the rabbi and he said, not kosher. And now we have no chicken for Shabbos. Imagine today's day and age, we don't have a piece of chicken for Shabbos, all we have is chal. He says, let me see the chicken. He looks at the chicken, observes it, opens the mouth, looks down the throat. He says it's kosher. Oh, really? He says, tell your rabbi it's kosher. He says, but he's not going to listen to me. He says, tell him to open the Shulchan Aruch, open to chapter 475, and look in the Taz. That's himself. Look in the Taz. Okay. She runs back to the rabbi. He says, Rabbi, yes, I asked the old man on the street. He says it's kosher. He's at it again. How could he say that? He said, look at 475 in the Taz. So he quickly takes out, opens the book, he starts looking through, he looks down, he looks at the Simon 475, looks in the Taz. He's right. He was right. The guy's 100% right. That's what it says in the halakha. Now he's going crazy. He runs down the street. He goes to the old man. Okay, what's going on with you? Who are you? He says, I'm the Taz. And the rabbi fainted. Can you imagine? He punched him out. Can't blame him. Fainted. He would never reveal himself, by the way, when it comes to him himself getting punched out. He would never reveal himself. But when it came to a girl that he saw crying that was in a lot of pain, then all of a sudden now, when we were, I got to give credit to my wife. She doesn't like when I talk about her. But when we went to buy this stuff for Pesach, we bought the romaine lettuce, the maror, that came in these special pack bags with a certain type of hashgacha. But my wife said she will check it anyway, just in case. And she holds it up to a light. Boom! There it was. Little bug crawling. Little bug. And even though it wouldn't be our fault, but it's inside you. It's not your fault if you ingest rat poison. It's not your fault. If you buy Cheerios and someone puts rat poison in, it is going to affect you whether it's your fault or not. That's why kosher food is very serious. You have double, triple check. Because even though you're right sometimes, you still have to make sure. Lahavdil, when you go to slaughter a chicken, the guy has to know a knife. We went for a demonstration just 2 weeks ago. The guy showed us how the knife has to be perfectly sharp. If it's a little dull and it cuts it, it's not kosher anymore. Even though it's a rabbi, if it didn't have a perfect cut and it didn't cut the trachea and the esophagus together, it's unbelievable how much you have to know. Therefore, we pay extra. The Jews are willing to pay in kosher delight for a bucket of chicken for $15 that costs in Wendy's $3. Right? What do we always say? It's $3, but it's a lot cheaper to go to hell. Right? We always say that. You have to remember that. So, we're willing to pay for it. We're willing to pay because we know we're on that higher level. I am going to end with this. And I gave it out. It's in the Mesilas Yesharim. Please look inside. I want to read one more. Take it. I want to read one more. This is the path of the just. I told you, everybody has to get the path of the just at home. He's talking about, and I want to ask you a question that bothered me about this. He's talking about 3 things that affects every human being. 3 drives that a person has that every guy suffers from. 3 drives. I'm only going to pick the 3rd. But without looking at the first 2, the 3rd one is food. We're going to talk about food. Without looking at the first 2, what is man's biggest drive? Wakes up every day. What's his drive? Number 1? Money. And that's what Mesilas Yesharim says. Right? And we all understand it. With money, you can have all the physical things you want. Right? You have a nicer car, chances are you'll get a nicer girl. I mean, some guys mind. Right? If I have nicer shoes, I'll be more comfortable. Bigger house, I can have everything. So money is a tremendous drive because it can give you all the things that it's in your dreams. And therefore, Hashem tests you with money all the time. Little things, every single day in business, I can cut corners. Every little thing, Hashem tests you. It's a drive. Number 2, obviously, that's true honor. That's only usually as you get older. But a drive, every high school guy knows, the first thing is drive is looking at girls. Hashem put that into the person's nature. He wants the person to have children. But Hashem is testing you to make sure you direct it properly. Not easy. You have to direct that and channel it properly. And number 3 is food. And let's just look inside. We're going to do a few lines, and then you're dismissed. Page 131, Mesilas Yesharim. It says, let's do 8 lines down. The sin which comes third after theft and illicit relations in respect to desire is that of forbidden foods, whether those that are ritually unclean, or an admixture containing them, or a combination of meat and milk, or blood, or food cooked by Gentiles, or the utensils by Gentiles, or the wine used in their libations. Cleanliness in relation to all of these requires great scrutiny and self-strengthening because there is a lust in the heart for good food, and because one must sometimes suffer a monetary loss as a result of the admixtures and the like. Though prohibitions concerning forbidden foods also involve many details, as is reflected in all the commonly known laws that are treated in the halakhic writings. One who is lenient in relation to these laws, when he has been instructed to be stringent, is destroying his soul. That's an amazing thing. You are destroying your soul. As it says, do not sully yourselves with them, becoming unclean with them. If you sully yourselves with them, you will, in the end, partake of their uncleanliness. Forbidden foods carry uncleanliness itself into a person's heart and soul until the holiness of the presence, blessed be He, departs and withdraws from him. Which means, what people think, I can't eat pig because pig is a dirty animal. No, this is for the soul. Kosher meat and kosher milk is kosher. You put them together, it becomes forbidden. There's nothing unclean about meat. There's nothing unclean about milk. But for some reason, Hashem says this is a spiritual uncleanliness and it destroys your soul. And your soul is the only thing you have after 120 years. And if a person his whole life was always eating non-kosher, he could fast for a day, do tshuva, and then he's ready to start again. If you don't understand it, Look at the car that you have. Who here drives a sports car? Anybody? No? Okay. I don't have any cool guys in my class.
I used
Come
to
on.
until last Monday.
Well, what sports car you
If
have?
you take your cousin. I had a two-door Honda Accord.
Give me a Porsche. No Porsche, no Beamer? Honda Accord is not a sports car. It's just a Honda with two doors.
Front-wheel drive.
Please. Honda. Can't give you that.
What about clone one?
It looks sporty wrapped around.
Okay. Even though you guys don't own a Porsche or a Beamer, what gasoline do you need for a Porsche and a Beamer?
93.
93. Very good. What gasoline do you need for a Honda Odyssey minivan?
87.
87. Very good. Brian's on the ball today. Right? Yes. I discussed this many times. When I got my car, it said for maximum performance, use 89. But I'm a Jew, and 89 is 30 cents more a gallon. That's rough. 30 cents more a gallon for what? I don't understand. It's like when you guys say, what's the difference between a $300 pair of and a $2,000? It looks the same. They're both black. You know? Okay. Good question. You got to know what's inside. Right? Well, they all look the same while it's filmed. Okay. And I said the same thing. I called my student, who's an aficionado on cars, and I say, what's the difference between 89 and 87? I don't want to pay 30 cents a gallon for the next 3 years. Is it going to destroy my car? He says no. You won't get maximum performance, though. You don't get maximum performance. Your car is 280 horsepower, 290. But if you don't use the 89, you won't get maximum performance. And it's up to you. Do you want maximum performance? So, being that I can't go more than 25 miles an hour on Ocean Parkway, anyway. In this loser neighborhood.
Ocean Park,
Ocean Parkway, exactly. These commercials, everybody's driving 130 miles. You go to Flatbush, 26. The whole thing's a lie. All sheker. So, if you want, look at yourself as a car. Look at yourself as a car. As a Jew, God is saying to you, you are a Porsche. God is saying to you, you are a Mercedes. As he says at the end of the Parsha, I took you out, Ani Hashem, I am Hashem, Hamala Escha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. That elevated. It doesn't say, I'm Hashem that took you out of Egypt. That's normal. Rashi's saying by kosher, I am Hashem that elevated you out of Egypt. What does that mean? When you came out of Egypt and you got the Torah, you are elevated. Now, don't tell this to your Italian neighbor, because he'll think you're racist. He'll think you're a better person, and you don't want to do that. Don't say anything. But you have to know, as a Jew, God says, I elevated you. I elevated you more than anybody else. Therefore, you have to get 93 octane. You have to get the gasoline for a Porsche. Those other guys, 87. Not a problem. Well, God, what do you mean? Why? Look at me. We look the same. I have the same hair, same nose, same ears, same everything. Yes, but you can't see your soul. You might look the same on the outside. You might look the same, but you don't see your soul. I see your soul. You have to trust me. And the same thing with an engine. If you take an 87 and you put it in a Porsche, in a year from now, your car will die. If you have a Porsche, a car that needs 93, you won't realize you are destroying its engine. In a year, it's gone, and the same thing happens to you. Unbeknownst to you, you don't realize that what is happening to you, it's going down and down and down and down. Therefore, I asked Rabbi Silber today, I'm going to leave you with this. You can answer the question when you get home. Why would God do this? Why food? I understand the drive for money, the drive. Why would God make food such an essential part of our life? Do you realize, by the way, most of our day, it's breakfast, it's lunch, it's dinner, it's midnight snacks, it's snacks during it's always food. Why couldn't God make us like a camel? Camel drinks, he's good for 3 months, walks to the desert. Why can't we do that? No, Hashem wants us to be involved in food. Food. And not only just one food, he doesn't give them like grass for cow. He wants to be us involved with tens of thousands of different types of food. Maybe you guys can help me out with that when you go home and think about it. God wants us to be constantly busy with food. Rabbi Silber was saying that food is something that is literally, food is avodas Hashem. People think I learned Torah, I daven. Food is avodas Hashem, is serving God. Why? Because every time you decide not to eat something, that is a connection with God. Every time you make all day you're making blessings. Every time you eat, you're making another blessing. Every time you decide not to walk into that store. You decide to overpay for some kosher. It's a constant connection with God. It's an all-day thing because it's with you all the time. So that's why he was trying to explain to you. But the Chassam Sofer once said, I'm just quoting him, he says, you know where most heretics come from? Guy's a heretic. Where does it come from? He says, you know why? Guys that are heretics, you could check their diet, they don't eat kosher. Chassam Sofer, don't ask me, one of the great rabbis the last 200 years. If a guy has such heresy that he's an anti and fights you, has to be something's blocking him. If he had clean arteries, if this guy had clean arteries, he would never have this problem. Everybody in your body has arteries that they should not clog with cholesterol and hot pastrami all day. You have these things called arteries, kosher arteries, that therefore it goes through you. The same way it's physical arteries, you have your spiritual arteries. You got to keep them clean so you got maximum Jewish performance. By the way, notice doesn't say any word kosher in the Torah. You notice that? Animals doesn't say kosher. What words it use? Anybody knows? It said animals are either tameh or tahar. Pure. What does it do with kosher? Guys are pure. Guys want to be pure. They go to the mikveh, they want to be pure. They go to Yom Kippur, they want to be pure. They wear a white kittel on Yom Kippur, they want to be pure. You have to eat the pure. Forget about the word kosher. You got to eat the pure animals. Okay, guys, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for listening. Before we end, again, we're looking for a sponsor. Oh, we have a sponsor right here. Thank you very much. Rabbi Rosenfeld 007 at gmail.com. If you would like to add to the food, thank you very much. Appreciate it. See you next week.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.